Hi there, I'm Sandra from createinspain, and today's project is actually a three-dimensional greenhouse. This is my first prototype, hopefully a third time a charm, and we shall see. So the greenhouse is cut basically in one piece. Now if you really wanted to, you could put some acetate in here to make it stronger, and I'm actually tempted to do that. But because I don't know exactly if I'm going to find any more problems with it, then no, I'm not going to. And this piece here, there's a reason for this little piece here. We will probably end up putting a little slit in the top. So the next thing to do would be to do all the decoration inside. There's two different ways of doing it. You can go side to side, just concertina strips, and put your plants on there. But that wouldn't be very realistic if you were using a greenhouse. You wouldn't be able to get into the greenhouse. So I decided I would do it slightly differently. I'm actually going to break this one apart because it's not working for me. So I'll just wreck it so that you can see how the rest of it is done. So you put your decoration on when it's flat. Now these bits here are little shelves which are raised very slightly. When it comes into the upright position, those shelves kind of pop out a little bit. Some of these plants I have doubled up and I've put some foam underneath, very thin foam, but just enough to give it a little bit of depth. And then we've got another shelf on here, and these I've just stuck onto the back. Now when it comes to sticking the flowers on the back, avoid this centre crease because that's important. Likewise with the ones which go on the creases, on the folds, you don't want anything on there that's going to interfere with the structure. What I'm going to do now is to show you how this goes together without doing the interior bits, because I've done that a couple of times. Bit of glue on the tabs. This folds halfway down. So you'll notice that the roof line is slightly higher because this is slightly bigger than the end bit. You just put some glue down the centre of the roof and you stick that top ridge together. We have a decor strip for this, and that has another function as well. Right. I have a decor strip. It looks a bit peculiar, but what you do is you fold it in half and you get this lovely little crenellated look, like so. Looks quite sweet, doesn't it? This goes over the ridge, and make sure to have the excess at the back. Also gives it a little bit of extra strength, which is quite good. Now I'm going to put a tiny little slit, there we go, and that goes in there. I think I would probably end up pulling these two apart and pulling them out. It can't be done until it's actually put upright in the card and someone is actually displaying it. Then you can pull those little bits out. But until then, not a good idea because it's got to fold out for the card itself. Okay, so to position your greenhouse on your card, you need to use this template. I've made it like this specifically because you can change the size of the card that you want to put it in, the position, etc., depending on what you fancy doing. But it must go in the centre crease. And then you need to take a ruler and you want to make your slits. I'm going to mark them in pen, which I wouldn't do normally, but you'll be able to see it better. You're probably going to want to cut just a fraction longer, just to give yourself a bit of wriggle room. This is really easy to do. This is such an easy table to make. It's going to be a long, thin table because I think that would be what would be in a greenhouse like that. You can just fold all the score lines. So these two things put together are going to make the table. Make sure you put the fold lines on the base of it, makes it tidier. And that's going to be my table. But I want something on my table. So I have a few little bits and pieces left in here. And so I'm going to glue them on the inside of my table. Okay, so make sure I've got the right side of this. Add some glue. And I just line that up. Like so. There we are. And then it can go into the card. You find your center line again. And this part here goes over the center line. And there we are. So it's stood up now. Close the card. You can pull the feet through the slits or push them through. When you do it, make sure you haven't got this creased in any way. If it's at all wavy, then you've got your slots too tight and you can extend them before you do any damage. And then you need to apply some glue. And I generally tape over it as well afterwards on the tabs underneath. Get one side well stuck before you do the other one. Put some glue on here and press down firmly and then leave it for a while. I can't emphasize enough the fact that these things need to be left to dry before you start folding them and putting them up and folding them down and putting them up and folding them down. Tempting though it is, leave it. Okay? It will be a lot better if you actually leave it. Now this one is definitely a lot more sturdy than the other little one that I did because the card is slightly heavier, which is a good thing. And when eventually this gets put together for display purposes, remember those little tabs go through that ball and then open out on the other side. That is the only amount of construction that anyone needs to do. And so we have our little greenhouse all finished. Well, actually I say all finished, I will probably do a couple of other little embellishments to it, but the general concept is done and has worked quite well. I mean, this one doesn't look quite as elaborate as the original one did because I've got things stuck on the side walls rather than having them in a dimensional manner. Now in the file there are little strips which I've done as a print and cut, and those are for mounting your little plants on the inside walls if you want to do it in a dimensional way because they have little fold lines printed. I haven't scored the fold lines because it's such a small item. The score lines will probably break it if I do. So I've chosen to print it and you just fold it on the printed line. You can fold it inside out so it doesn't show afterwards, but fold it on the printed line. I finished this card off with a pretty neutral front. Enjoy retirement. That just, I don't know, it's just something I thought that would be appropriate for the content, I guess. But it could be a birthday card if you want it to be. And I've put on one of the cacti and I've just put some googly eyes on it. I just thought that added a little bit of whimsy. So nice plain front because when you open it up you get the full effect of the greenhouse in all its dimensional glory. So now I will put this, a couple of tags through that slot and just open them up, and that keeps my greenhouse back on really nicely. I'm pleased with that. So there we go, my greenhouse card is complete. It works out that this is about a 16 centimetre square card. So if you want to do a smaller card than that, you'll have to resize the greenhouse. If you want to do that, select absolutely everything in the file and just resize the whole lot in one go. That way you shouldn't get too many nasty surprises. However, don't put it too small because this will be really difficult, not necessarily to cut, but to get the structure right if you do it too small. If you really want to do a very small one, then I would suggest using acetate to back the windows, and that will definitely make it a bit stronger. So what do you think? Leave your comments down below.